Good morning, Daniel Nour. Thank you for joining us at Yellow Shelf.
Thank you so much for having me, Joanna. I'm loving also this kind of bespoke yellow shelf. I want to say cafe space that you're speaking to me from.
Yeah, very casual space, but casual, serious Yellow Shelf space where we talk to awesome authors like yourself. Daniel, congratulations. Your book is out now. I've got a copy here. How to Dodge Flying Sandals and Other Advice for Life. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's so thrilling to see it in shelves. I recently did a bookshop tour actually here in Sydney City, and I went to Dimmicks and Kinokuniya, and then also to see not just to sign it myself, but then to see it in people's hands,
Yes.
and to get a little bit of that real time audience feedback. That is just out of this world. Yeah.
Yeah. And Daniel, this is your first book, first memoir, first official book. Is that fair
Yeah,
to say?
that's right, Joanna. So I've worked in journalism for about 15 years now. I started quite young, and I'm not geriatric, but be that as it may, it has been kind of the training that I've got, which is keep
Yes,
everything short, sharp, concise.
yes.
What happened to me really after writing several short stories and essays and kind of comic pieces was I felt like I had the wherewithal to make this a longer form piece. And through a mentorship that I received with Affirm Press and Sweatshop Literacy Movement, both, kind of working with emerging writers like myself, we put pen to paper, we signed a contract, and 2 years later, here we are with my
Yeah.
parents' faces on the front cover.
Yeah. So, Daniel, tell us about the book. This is, I guess, a book about your life growing up, the complexities of life. Tell us all about it.
It's about family expectations. It's about growing up Egyptian Australian and that intersection of culture, getting married, bringing my mother several grandchildren. She hoped for a brood, it may still happen. And then the big kind of pink elephant in the room of my, sexuality, of being gay and being in the closet for so many years. Under the weight, the burden of all of that familial pressure to be this, good, straight boy. And I think I am a good boy. I mean, as far as I can tell, whatever that means, really. But I'm certainly not straight. Um, and then it's also about the failure to come of age and how much pressure we have on people to have it all figured out. This notion that you know yourself, that you have this linear journey where you kind of go, to get your education, you get into the workforce, you find a partner, and then it's all smooth sailing. But actually, I'm sure you can appreciate that is not life.
No.
And mine is an homage really to all of the many, many failures that it takes to have some kind of a life. Yeah.
And yeah, Daniel, tell us, you've recently officially launched the book. You've been, I mean, I followed you on socials. You're launching the book. Oh, sorry, the official launch is at the end of the month, but you've got festival
Yeah.
attendance, book
Yeah.
launch. What's this crazy journey been like of, author out there? Tell us all about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a show pony, and I don't think I'd be doing this if I wasn't. But although I know there are some writers who are very kind of interior and private, I'm not really like that. What I will say is it is still very scary, and very vulnerable making to put oneself out there, and especially to talk about things like, my first romantic encounters, what it was like the moment because it is a memoir.
Yes.
Although I've called it an unreliable memoir, an unreliable ethnic memoir,
Yeah.
written in a series of how to kind of procedural chapters, how to get married, which is, how to
Yeah.
divorce, in effect, how not to have a successful marriage, how to die, about my grandfather's funeral, and how to come out, which was my bungled attempt at doing that. So because that's also personal, it is quite it does feel very intimidating, or maybe I should say, um, there's that feeling of risk because I can't please everyone,
Yeah.
and I think the biggest challenge has been navigating that space between fact and fiction, as it were, and knowing when I'm um, towing that line with some kind of respect for people's dignity,
Yeah.
because there are real people in my circle, in my life, not least of whom are my parents who are on the front cover. But at the same time, you have to write as though you're dead. You know, you do have to write something honest and real. And in order to do that, you kind of you have to take the leap. So I hope I've done that. And above
Yeah.
all, I hope it makes people laugh. And it seems like so far from Sydney Writers Festival, the Queer Stories event that I did there, which was like 800 people or so, that
Yeah.
people are laughing. And I've told them in the press release that I want people to laugh so hard that they soil themselves a bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a laugher, but I laughed, and at different stages, my family were like, what are you reading?" So I thought, I must say, I'm glad you mentioned it because I actually thought it was very clever that you wrote the how-to snapshots. I
Yeah.
thought that was really good about all the different sort of coming of age journeys and topics. I thought that
Yeah,
was
yeah. Especially in this era of, how to get rich in 10 steps, 12 rules for life,
yes,
how to shed the weight and keep it off. There's so much
yeah,
obnoxious kind of confidence out there
yeah,
that I provide a counterpoint to that, the antidote, I think.
yeah. And, it really, for me, I just kept going back to that, thinking about my own like self acceptance in life. Do
Yeah,
you know, there was, even though I'm reading your journey, yeah, there was a lot of reflection upon that. Danny, am I allowed to ask about the family? You put your
yeah,
parents on
sure,
the cover.
sure.
You obviously got their approval. What has their journey through your book release been like? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
well, thank you, Joanna, for asking. Oh, listen, just by way of context, obviously my parents expected me to get married to a woman and have children and work a stable job. And I do like my work, but I don't feel that I'm in that kind of lawyer, doctor,
Yeah.
pharmacist echelon that is usually expected of migrant kids. And so I think they're still reckoning
Sure.
with it,
Sure.
not just with the fact that I'm kind of in the arts and I'm becoming a little bit more of a public persona, but just that the script didn't go to plan,
Sure.
and they're not voracious readers, but I think they will. They like it when people share the book, and
Yeah.
I think it is fundamentally amazing to my dad that I'm getting paid for this.
Yeah. Well, I really thank you for sharing that because I think, when people read the book, there'll be a level of curiosity about that. So it's really good to hear how the family are going on this journey as well as you,
Yeah.
Daniel.
Well,
Tell us,
I mean, the family are coming to the book launch at the end of the month here in Sydney, and I think that will hopefully be the start of a long journey of acceptance.
yeah.
Mm.
Ah, brilliant. And I hope you don't mind me asking this as well. I did read, and correct me if I'm wrong, improv comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
Has that also been in your world?
Yeah. I was since high school. I did it at
Yeah.
high school. I did it at uni, and then I did it with Improv Theatre Sydney here in
Yeah. Okay.
Sydney's inner west.
Yes.
And it's been so freeing and liberating for me to kind of learn that yes and philosophy of improv, which is you never want to put a roadblock to someone's offer. You want to add to it.
Yes.
And I think as a writer, and we often hear about writer's block and this concept of paralysis and not knowing what to kind of create next or what to write next. And improv has been a fantastic way of handling that because yeah, I'm a bit of a workhorse. I think a lot of writers are, and I just want to get. I want it to be in people's hands. And although I like the idea of perfection, I don't think it exists. And improv has been a great way of moving it along. And what's that phrase? A bird in the hand is better
Yeah.
than two in the bush. And I bring that perspective to this too, I think. Mm.
Yeah. And look, Daniel, I have to admit from a personal perspective, I've always been a visual person when I used to pick books.
Yeah,
Your book will be one of those books that it'll stand out on the bookstore shelf.
yeah.
So it's great that we've been able to talk about this because there's huge curiosity, I'm sure. Tell us, how do we connect with you? How do we connect with the book? I know I follow you on Instagram. I'll put even in the launch date of the book in Sydney in the show
Yeah, thank
notes.
you. Yeah, that would be fabulous. Everyone's invited. As for just general connection, Instagram is best. I'm on there often, like most millennials of my generation, who are kind of grappling with this addiction.
Oh,
And otherwise, you can hit me up for professional inquiries if you'd like me to speak at an
yes.
event about more inclusivity and inclusion in your workplace, in your in your 9 to 5,
Yeah. Yes.
danielnour.com. And you can hit me up there. I also do, I respond to writing requests. So it's
Fabulous.
DANIEL Nour, NOUR.com.
No worries. I will put those links in the show notes. Daniel, thank you for joining us. Good luck with the book launch, and enjoy that because that's huge. That's a really big deal to.
Thank you so much, Joanna.
I would love to think you'll continue to write. I might even get you back on Yellow Shelf in the future,
Yeah,
maybe.
from your mouth. I will be writing one way or another. I will be writing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Joanna.
Cheers.